Hello students, this is the video lecture that I'm doing for chapter 1 in the Mindich textbook. Just a word about these video lectures. They are meant to supplement or complement the textbook. They are not meant as a complete substitution. This is to be understood as there are questions on the quizzes that come from the textbook for material that's not in the video lecture. Not a lot of questions, just a couple questions. Plus there's a lot of stuff that's in the video lecture that's not in the textbook. So if you want to get the most out of this class, consume both the video lectures and read the chapters. All right, let's do this. And we're off. Before we begin, let's give a definition of media. What is media? The plural is media, the singular would be medium, and this refers to the means of communicating to individuals and groups. And now here is a graphic. This is not in the textbook. I snagged this from Google image search. Maybe it comes from another textbook. Now look at the top of the pyramid. Here we have different levels and different types of communication. The top of the pyramid would be intrapersonal or interpersonal communication. What this class is about is primarily the bottom of the pyramid here, mediated communication. This is when you have a small group of individuals or a small group of content producers generating messages that go out to many, many different people. And there may not be a direct connection between the content producers and the people who are receiving that content. That's what we talk about when we talk about mediated communication or mass media, different forms of mass media. And there is an argument, I'm just going to throw this out, there is an argument that the world of mass media is dead. This was something from the 19th and 20th centuries because of social media and two-way forms of symmetrical communication. We no longer have mass media. I reject this, and I think everyone taking this class should reject this, because while social media is pretty awesome and I love it, and it does give power to individuals, I'll talk about that in a moment, we still have many, many outlets and many, many institutions in which a very small centralized group of people are able to produce messages that are consumed by many other people. So I don't think the world of mass media is dead. So I have clarified different types of communication and stress what I mean by mass media. But just to be clear, this includes video you'd watch on the internet, YouTube, for example, or streaming on one of the many, many platforms. Traditional television, including broadcast television, cable, and streaming. We're going to talk later in the semester about the differences between broadcasting and cable. There's different forms of radio. There's online, there's satellite, there's traditional radio. You have newspapers, which include the print, the online, and the mobile version of that publication. You have magazines, comic books. I'm a big comic book geek. I collect Daredevil. If anyone has Bronze Age Daredevils, let me know. I also include video games. I didn't even mention music right here, TikTok, everything. So when people say that I don't trust the media, it's a very, very broad term. You may have to probe, well, what do you mean? How are you defining media? And when people talk about the media or the media wants you to believe something, there is not some singular person or a group of people controlling all these different various outlets. That doesn't make any sense to talk about it that way. So when we talk about the world of media, it's better to refer to the media industries and plural, because there's so many different types of mass media, including gas station TV. This is just a comical interlude here. I find it funny, when you're pumping gas, there's like a little video channel there broadcasting news to you. I remember one, it was like, follow us on Twitter on gas station TV. Yeah, why would I do that? Why would I do that? But I'm not knocking it. If you graduate college, inshallah, you'll all get jobs when you graduate. If you graduate college and you get a job producing content for gas station TV, take it, do it, but maybe you can upgrade to something a little more prestigious later on. Okay, now let's talk about public opinion. This is discussed in the textbook on page 3. I'm looking at the textbook right here. Because we don't have direct encounters with many of the things that are in the news, we rely upon people in the media industries to shape our worldview. And sometimes the mainstream media narrative can be warped. Sometimes it may not be accurate. But on page 3 here, we have examples at the top of page 3. I'm looking at examples of some things that I presume y'all learned about through some form of mass media, including, COVID-19, when the world shut down. I think y'all remember that. I remember that. I remember hearing about what they did in Italy, and I was like, there's no way we're going to do mass quarantine in the United States. January 6th, when supporters of Donald Trump stormed the US Capitol, when Russia invaded Ukraine, the biggest European conflict since World War II. We also have earthquake in Turkey. Yeah, that's what it says, earthquake in Turkey and Syria that killed more than 50,000 people. And to this, I would also add the events in October 2023 with Israel and Hamas and that conflict right there. These are things we learn about through the media that can have real world repercussions in our own daily life. But there is a fundamental question. And to me, all study of media, all media scholars, including myself, we have to grapple with this fundamental question. Does the media and the images that we see in the media reflect reality? Are they simply a reflection of reality? You could say, yes, mainstream Hollywood movies and TV shows are super violent and super sexual. The world is very violent. The world is very sexual. Hollywood is just a mirror reflecting what already exists. This is the argument that the media reflects reality. Or you could argue that the media create reality, that when we grow up and are socialized, we see different images, the way men and women should act, the way different people of different ethnicities, the way they should act. And that teaches us how to act. And if those views and the world that we see in one of the media industries is skewed and flawed, and then it leads people to act in maybe unhealthy or non-productive ways. So does the media reflect reality, or does the media create reality? It's a little bit of both, right? But which side of the spectrum do you favor if you have to answer this question? And when you're examining different media phenomenon, the answer could be different as well. Okay, this is from the textbook. Mindich talks about this as a type of counter narrative, right? A type of counter narrative. In the past, there were many, many instances of lynching, very, very unfortunate and really grotesque type of vigilante justice, where it was usually people of color being murdered for some reason. This sort of the conventional wisdom, decades, 100 years ago, was that rape was the reason that a person of color had done something untoward or unseemly with a white woman. Therefore, he had to be killed. What Ida B. Wells, she was a African-American journalist. She wanted to investigate this herself. When she looked into it, she found that sexual assault was actually not the biggest reason in most cases. And if rape or sexual assault was brought up, it was sometimes brought up after the fact. In most cases, if there was any type of sexual relationship, it was between consenting adults. The root cause of lynching, according to Ida B. Wells, was economic competition. That you had people, including maybe white men, who were concerned about losing their jobs to others. That was the real motivation behind lynching, economic competition. Here we have, I just grabbed some front page newspaper images here to talk about. This is a very, very famous incident that I'm going to talk about here. Back in 2005, there was this horrible Hurricane Katrina, which devastates New Orleans. New Orleans is still recovering and has never been the same and may never be the same after Katrina. In the news coverage, there's a lot of people of color who live in New Orleans. But in the devastation, here we have, this is a real photograph that appeared in the newspaper. We have two residents who appear to be white people, two residents who have retrieved, they found bread and soda in a grocery store. However, here we have someone else who was described as looting a grocery store. So according to this discrepancy here, white people find food, black people loot. And this shows the discrepancy that can sometimes happen when the media narrative is biased and not necessarily rooted in reality. Here we have another image from the textbook, which talks about the power of social media. And the textbook does mention Black Twitter. I think I can still call it Black Twitter, even if that platform goes by X. I'm still going to call it Black Twitter. Social media conversations can shape mainstream media coverage in the digital age. And here we have this now infamous scene of George Floyd's murder, which happened in 2020, which we would not have known about if it were not for this person who videotaped it on their phone. So even though I said just a few moments ago that we still have institutions of mass media and mass media is still a thing in the United States, I don't want to completely gloss over or completely ignore the power of social media. It is possible for individual people to affect and bring about social change by broadcasting specific messages, especially messages which aren't found in mainstream media narratives. Now we have a graphic here, which is not in the textbook, but I did want to talk about it. It's concerning, genuinely. It's genuinely concerning to me. Here we have some statistics from Gallup. That's an organization that has been doing public opinion polling for many, many decades, talking about how much trust do people have in the media. And the green line indicates a great deal or a fair amount of trust. And if you look at the green line, that's the top line there. On the left side, it's the top line. It's going down. The people who report a great deal or a fair amount of trust in the media, it's going down. And then the sort of the dotted blue line, which is I have no faith at all, that's going up. And it's up to an astonishing 39% for 2023. So people are losing faith in the messages that are reported in the mass media. I believe this is me getting on a soapbox here. I believe that the reason so many people are reporting no faith in mass media is that they're unable or unwilling to distinguish between opinion and news. A lot of the information and a lot of messages that are in different forms of mass media are clearly opinions. Sometimes we talk about this as an editorial. It promotes a particular point of view. The person may be talking in first person. They use a lot of adjectives, a lot of colorful or loaded language. All that screaming and talking head nonsense that we see on cable news, which I do sometimes watch, CNN, Fox, MSNBC. Almost all of that is opinion. It is not news. I repeat, it is not news. It is opinion. They may be talking about real events that happen. So there may be news as the basis, but it's just conversation. It's just people talking. So when people say, I disagree with, I don't trust the media, what they're saying is, I disagree with the opinion that's being espoused. I don't think people are rejecting the factual information that's being reported, or at least they shouldn't be, right? At least they shouldn't be. You know, if the local news says there's a hurricane coming, there's a flood coming, there's a fire coming, you should probably take that seriously. It would be nonsensical to look at your TV or your phone and go, I don't believe that media's outlet. Hard news is something that's based in reality. It's observable, verifiable. And I'll stress, I don't think people are able to tell the difference between opinion and news, and they get confused. Here we have an image of the talking head business from cable news, just in case you didn't know what I was talking about. Then we do have incidents. Unfortunately, we do have instances where there are unreliable and unethical people working in different media industries. The textbook stresses ethics a lot, and I'm going to stress ethics as well, because I believe if you want to be a responsible media content producer, you need to operate according to certain rules of ethics. This incident here happened back in 2023 during a presidential election. Trump was saying that, you know, the 2020 election was rigged and he won, but it was rigged. And Dominion, the organization that made the voting machines, was part of this conspiracy. These allegations were repeated on Fox News, so much so that Fox Cable News now actually had to do an out-of-court settlement for $787 million because they did the settlement so they wouldn't have to go to court because they were going to lose. They were going to lose. Um, and I'm going to talk about this in another lecture when we talk about law. But if you are making a false claim and you know it's false, that's a big caveat here. If you know it's false, okay, it's one thing to make a false claim by accident, but if you make a false claim and know it's false, then you can be legally responsible. And it looked as if, based on all the evidence that came out, that Fox and their news producers and their journalists knew the information about the rigged election was false, that they were espousing it nevertheless. So I think most people who work in the different media industries do their best. I used to be one myself. I think people do their best, and most people are ethical, but there are some unethical and unreliable people out there. So hopefully, from taking this class, you can learn about ethics, responsible journalism, non-responsible journalism, and maybe be a more discerning media consumer yourself. Can we control the media? Yes. This Time magazine, this cover here on the left, what year is that from? What year is that from? I'm looking in the textbook now. Yeah, 2006, Time magazine. Time picks person of the year, not always an actual human being. It could be a group of people or something like this. In 2006, Time magazine said, you were the person of the year, and that was a reflective piece of mylar supposed to look like a mirror. And they were stressing Web 2.0, which is what we talk about, this sort of two-way symmetrical form of communication made possible by emerging technologies. Well, they're not emerging, they're kind of old technology now. And it is true that individual people or people who want to promote a social cause or promote a particular campaign can get the message out. The image on the right is, I'm gonna have to look here. Yes, student from Stoneman Douglas High School in Parkland, Florida. There was a horrible, horrible shooting there in 2018. It was unbelievable. I remember hearing about it on the news. Couldn't believe it. So different students from this school have made it their campaign to sort of promote the issue of gun reform, stopping gun violence. So it is possible for people to get their messages out, although I don't believe we're playing on an equal playing field. And large organizations, especially organizations that have money, like the NRA, are oftentimes able to get their message out more broadly. May not be a true message, but I do believe that powerful organizations are able to exert sort of an imbalanced pressure on the playing field. And to go back to that cartoon, the Spider-Man cartoon, I believe media is a reflection of reality, although it's not a pure reflection. It is more like a funhouse mirror. Certain aspects are exaggerated and certain aspects of society are diminished, the way a funhouse mirror might exaggerate the size of your neck or how long your legs are, or and de-emphasize something else. So I do believe media is a reflection of reality, but it is not a pure reflection. It is a funhouse mirror. What are the aims of the book? To conduct a substantial investigation of various forms of media, which is what we will be doing for the rest of the semester. To also help you understand the way media messages can have an effect on you. We're going to discuss media theories very early in the semester to discuss different ways people have tried to explain the relationship between media and society, and also to try and give some empowerment and give you maybe some support or some enthusiasm, whether you want to work in one of the media industries, which inshallah some of you do. Come join us in the School of JMS, or even if you don't want to work in one of the media industries, maybe you can have some agency, and if nothing else, be a discriminating and discerning consumer of media. All right, that's it. When I go to black, I'm going to play some bonus content here. Okay, you can stick around and listen if you want, but you don't have to.